so now that you're a wizard at knowing what APA style papers look like, now let's talk about how to use Microsoft Word to format those APA style papers that you're going to write so brilliantly in future classes. Okay, so here is what I see when I open up Word on my machine, which is a PC. I believe it may be running Windows 10. It may look a little different depending on the type of machine you're using, for example, PC versus Mac, or the version of Microsoft Word you're using. But it should give you a starting page that includes a blank document. And so you can click on that to get, ta-da, a new document. And so the first thing that we talked about when it comes to formatting was a font. And up here in Microsoft Word is where you can find all the different menus and ribbons and so forth. And you might notice over here that it tells you what font we're using right now. Now you might have remembered that I typically use Times New Roman, and so I would set the main font to be that. You might notice here in the font area you see a lot of different options under Home tab. There's a little call out button here that you can click on to set defaults. And so feel free to choose a font that you like. For example, maybe I like Times New Roman. And so I would just choose Times New Roman. And then the standard font size for Times New Roman typically is 12. I can set that as default. Click, and then click on OK to make sure that every time I open up Microsoft Word, that is the main font that I get to use. In this instance, maybe you're not feeling terribly picky about setting the default, so I'm just going to select all and then set that to Times New Roman 12. It did work. Hooray! And so this is where you would be adjusting the font. Now you might remember that for APA style papers, the title is in bold. I'm probably not going to write a paper called Did This Work? What would be a good title for this? Let's say psychology. Of course, that's not a word. Let's say I have this rather casual sounding title, but an important title called Psychology 300 Students Rock. And I wanted to make that bold and centered, as you might remember how the title page started. And so I've just hit Enter to come down here, and then here is where you can bold. Alternatively, if you're a shortcut person, you could do Control B. So bold, and then this is supposed to be in the middle of the page in terms of alignment, center alignment. Alignment you can find here under paragraph, and so poof, I can click on center, and then here it is. Your title appears in the middle of your page in terms of alignment. And so you might remember that the next thing that you would write down is your name. Don't I type fast? It's a gift. Anyway, so and then what you want to do is to also think about setting a page number. And so we're going to jump around a little bit relative to what I had on my list in PowerPoint, but let's take a look and see how we can make this title page complete by doing a page number up top. For that, you want to go to Insert, and then Page Number, and then Top of Page. And Microsoft Word will give you a number of options about where and how you would like to place your page number. You'd want to select the plain number and right aligned, and so this is what you would do. And then you can just close out of that when done. Ta-da! And so there you have it, the title page. Isn't that wonderful? All right, so now life is wonderful. I typically use Control Enter to go to a new page, but you can certainly do a bunch of returns to go to the next page. Now, this is where you write, I'm just kidding you, you don't want to do introduction, you just copy and paste the title of your paper. And then you're ready to get started. Now, you're still center aligned, so you want to make sure that you're left aligned. And for that, we come back to the Home tab and then go to Paragraph, and you might see that this is currently center aligned. You want to go to left aligned, and then you can start writing on the left hand side, which is excellent. So let me start my paper. My speed typing, you know, I just can't stop. It looks okay to me, but this is not quite APA style. You're probably seeing a number of issues here And so let me try to fix it. I also noticed that this is actually APA 6, but I will fix that later. All right, and so the good news is that this is left aligned, but it is not double spaced for one. How do you double space it? You go back to the paragraph area again, and then you click on this button, and then you click on 2.0 because you want to double space it. And so go ahead and click on it. But what's sneaky about Microsoft Word is that these days they kind of give you a default that is not quite just double spaced. You might notice that if you pull down extra information by going to this button, then line spacing options, then you notice that there is spacing before and after 8 point. And we don't need another extra space on top of double spacing. So I'm just going to hit 0 for that and then set that as OK and double spacing. You can also set that as default if you like. Another thing that you could do here is actually to do an indent. This is not something I necessarily typically do, but for default, it's a good idea if you're constantly writing APA style papers to just let Microsoft Word know that the first line should be indented by half an inch. Anyway, if you hear any background noise, excuse my family in the background. It is COVID era when I'm recording this, and well, you know, things happen. Maybe happening in your life as well. Hang in there. At any rate, so you could do that and then set as default or hit OK to make that work. And so ta-da! You have now indented your paragraphs by half an inch. And so every paragraph starts with that indent, as you can see, and then everything is double spaced, and it's beautiful. Alternatively, one thing you could do if you are not a big default person or you don't want to set settings for the entire paper is to just hit Tab. You could hit Tab or you could click on this indent button. So those are a few different options you have for making that tab happen. So please feel free to do what you're most comfortable. Now, the only other thing that we haven't covered yet in this particular demo is to do a 1-inch margin all around. Luckily, Microsoft Word typically defaults to that, but where you can find that information is through Layout. And then you can go to Margins, and then you can see that right now Microsoft says, here's the normal setting, and this is what you have for your paper. And so you can click on that, and then your entire paper should have 1-inch margin all around. Now, just a little bonus material. So let's say that I'm working on references page, and as you know, this is supposed to be bold, and so you can either go to Home and then bold it, or you can do Control B if you have it highlighted, if you're working on a PC. But let's say that I have these references. I ignore the fact that some of these do not have DOIs or digital object identifier. We'll talk more about that when we cover the references. But let's say you wanted to format these, and these don't look quite right. First of all, the double spacing is not there. And so you want to click on line spacing options. You can also remove space after paragraph to get rid of that tiny little 8 point that's afterwards. But I usually set it to after 0. Oops, hitting on the wrong key. And then line spacing is double, as you know. But something that's special about references, you might remember, is that it has a hanging indent. And so it means that the first line is flush to the left, but the rest of the paragraph should be indented. So a little bit of a reverse from the paragraphs. You go to the same menu to set that hanging indent. Instead of doing the first line you want to go to, you set it hanging and then set it to 0.5, and let's see what that looks like. The preview looks good. Let's see if it looks good in real life. Ta-da! Oh, my eyes are watering. It's so beautiful. Anyway, so this is how you would do a hanging indent. Same area, paragraph, and then this option. And line spacing options. Hanging. So to review, these options that we'd covered are in the Home tab, and so this is usually what shows when you first open up a document. So you can do a lot of formatting in that particular tab, and then the 1-inch margins you just saw, you go to Layout tab, Margins, and then Page Number, you go to the Insert tab, and it'll give you an option to do an upper right-hand corner page number. And so these are some of the basics that you want to know in Microsoft Word. I've just kind of written out here some options that you might time and time again end up using in different tabs or areas of Word. And so feel free to save this for future reference and explore as you like. These are all settings that I typically use when I write APA style papers. All right, so now you're a whiz at knowing what APA style papers look like, and you're fully updated to APA 7th, unlike me. Still struggling with that. And then you now know how to use Microsoft Word to format those papers. Excellent. All right, I hope you and your loved ones are staying safe and well, and you're having a great start to the semester. Have a great week, and I'll talk to you soon. If you have any questions, feel free to post them on Canvas or contact me. Take care.